Is your idea of working with other people, sending them email? If it is, you're probably not very productive. And today we're going to get a look at a tool set that'll make you a lot more productive when you're working with other people. And that's Teambox, and it's really cool. Who are you?
My name is Carl Goldfield. I am Collaboration Agent 001 with Teambox. For the last 8 or 9 years, I've been working with startups in sales and marketing, and I came to Teambox to help brand this new concept of how we're trying to help people change the way they work. In short, I was looking for a way to change the way I was working and stumbled across this tool. Met the founder, Pablo, and within a month convinced him that I needed to work with him. And then 3 or 4 months later, he convinced me that I needed to quit everything else I was doing. And now, like I said, I'm the first person in the United States evangelizing and trying to make everyone see why they should be using a tool like Teambox.
Yeah. There's a lot of companies asking us to change how we're working. From Salesforce Chatter to Socialcast. We've interviewed a lot of these companies. Who are you aimed at that's different than the other tools, and what's your differentiator, I guess?
So that's a great question. One of the things we're trying to do, and this is how we put it, is we're trying to make it easy and fun to get things done. And we're not necessarily looking at the enterprise. Not that we're discouraging the enterprise from coming and using our tool, but the goal of our tool is to make it the everyday of electronic information, of what we're doing on the internet, simpler. Because, and to answer your question of who, we're looking at the micro business, the small independent contractor, the freelancer, the virtual assistant, the wedding planner, the plumber, anyone who has now taken the internet and put it into their day-to-day, whether it be email or Facebook or building their own website or whatever they have to do, they're interacting with many people. The way they're interacting, as you mentioned, is archaic. Email is changing. There's a new layer coming over email, which is going to be productivity.
Yeah.
And that's our goal, is to make it easy to do that. There are plenty of tools out there that'll help you, but a lot of them are encumbering. They add weight to your day-to-day. We're trying to lighten the load and make it simpler to do it. And then hopefully, because it's easier, it's more enjoyable. And bring some gaming into it as well to make it fun.
So let's say you're a contractor and building, rebuilding people's kitchens and stuff like that. And you probably have to subcontract out to an electrician and maybe a plumber and maybe a woodworker, a cabinet maker, something like that. How would that person use this? And tell me a little bit about how much it costs and how they buy it and stuff like that.
So that's a great example. So why don't I take that in 2 parts? I'm going to start with how they would use it and then shift over to the how you can get the software. But the first part is, let's say I am that contractor and I have 4 or 5 subcontractors I work with, and then my husband and wife client, right? Well, today I'm probably getting 3 different types of communications, if not more, but at least 3: email, text, and phone call. Yeah. And the problem is, if you're the client or the subcontractor and you call me and I haven't written that down, or I didn't put it somewhere, I have to remember that a month later, what you said to me. If you text me, it's in my phone. And if you email me, it's somewhere in my inbox, my reply, somewhere in my sent items. I have all these silos of information. If I educate you to use Teambox, which you can use from your phone, you can use from your email, now everything's in one central repository. And I have the ability to work with my subcontractor on the information we're working on, share with my clients what's going on, but there's also transparency where they can see what we're doing as well, and get an understanding without having to bother me of where we are in the project. So it makes things simpler for everybody, and it's intuitive, so that unlike other tools where someone has to get some education to learn it, anyone who understands Facebook or understands email will quickly understand Teambox and be able to use the tool immediately. Now, to your second question, we've actually have 3 different levels of using the system. It's an open source software, meaning anyone can download it and use it for free. You have pretty much the complete system with almost every bell and whistle. And as long as you understand Ruby on Rails and you understand Linux, you're good to go. We offer support for that as well, but really most of the people open source are just doing it. We're trying to do that to help build the product out, get as many great ideas into it, and use it as a collaboration tool itself. Okay. Then we have a free model. Anyone can use it for up to 3 projects, as many people invited as they want, and manage 3 projects. From there we go into a premium model where Up to 6 projects is $12, all the way up to you can have 2,000 projects for $199 a month.
So that contractor only has to pay one fee, and it covers everybody he's going to collaborate with?
Exactly.
That's
But
nice.
there's an interesting part to this, which is viral, because you're the contractor, and you now have a project, and you invite a subcontractor. Well, that subcontractor is part of your organization, part of your project. But they also now have a free account to go and set up projects with their subcontractors, or they might be working with 20 vendors themselves and might want to do the same thing. The goal here is that everyone eventually is looking at this like a Facebook, in the sense that I am now connected professionally, almost call it a social network,
Yeah.
with all of these people that I work with, and we're doing business in a much more organized and structured way than just the older, more archaic ways of communicating.
Yeah. You're one of the few companies that's truly open source. So that's an interesting differentiator. How did you arrive at that?
Our founder Pablo decided to build this on Ruby on Rails, and knowing what you know about the Ruby community, it's a very collaborative community.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people working really hard together to make the best applications possible. So at first there wasn't a decision either way, but it pretty much made sense that the best way to get people to help us make the best product was to make it open source. Yeah. And really, that's going to help all of the Ruby developers, all the mobile app developers out there, get involved in it, get some notoriety, and also help us make the best product possible.
Very cool. It's interesting to see these tools and how they help get stuff out of the inbox, get people out of email inbox. Tell me a little bit about your ideas there and what you're noticing about using the tool and how it gets some of this crap that's in our inboxes out of the inbox.
Well, I'll give you 2 perfect examples, and I'll start with my own life. I actually had a virtual assistant that I paid to read my email and manage my task list on, I think, Google Docs, 4 hours a day. I paid someone to go through and filter out all the email I needed to do, to find things I needed, and to maintain my task list. I'd used previous tools in this space, and they were cumbersome. Yeah. And it took me longer to manage through that, and I still had to deal with my inbox, right? One of the most complicated things about the inbox is, where is history, right? There are a lot of things I need to find that are 90 days old, right? And it might have just been a conversation, it might have been a password, it might have been a piece of content. There are a lot of things current that when we're collaborating, at the 9th revision, what revision am I on, yeah. Right? And you have to search for these things, and you have to really know exactly what you're searching for. When you connect this into Teambox, you're not siloed. You and your inbox don't have the last revision. We in Teambox have the last revision. And if I'm making changes to something, I can notify you. We can collaborate on pages, almost in a wiki style. And the latest version is the only version, yeah. Right? When you see something done, but there's another important piece that people don't see right away, which is the time. So I'm working on a task. When I complete it, how do you know?
Yeah.
I have to notify you,
yeah.
Right? If we're using Teambox, you can go see.
Yeah.
You can inquire. So I just saw this quote the other day. It was funny. Is how can you consider a Gantt chart part of agile project management, right? We're trying to keep things agile. We're not trying to be the measuring device. We're trying to be the communication tool. So when you're managing a task, when it's your responsibility, right, everyone knows. Yeah. And they can see your updates on it. So people call this Twitter-style project management because you have the ability with an @username sign to notify anyone where you're at. So you can do status updates, you can create conversations, you can tell people where you're at.
So I can say @Rocky, I finished that edit, and he can then see that come in on the top of his feed?
Well, it comes into his feed and his email. He gets a notification via email. So we're not saying email is dead. We're saying the inbox is dead, right? So you're going to get notified via email or text or whatever communication tool, because right here, this is our bread and butter. This is where we live. We get our email, we get our updates, we get our feed information. I have an RSS feed here. Anytime anything happens on a project, I get notified, right? Because I prefer that to email or text. But we don't limit you on how you're getting the information. What we're saying is where it's stored, where it lives, where you interact, shouldn't be these silos of inbox send item. It should be a central repository, much like the cloud. Right?
Tell me about the task list. What can you do with that, and how is that different from like a task list in Google Mail, or on my iPhone? There's a task list manager.
Great question. There's 3 core differences between a basic to-do file and a project task list in Teambox. The first is that you have the ability to give other people visibility. So anyone in the project, you can add them to the conversation. And the thing to look at is in every part of this is a running update and a running conversation, much like a feed in Twitter, right? Yeah. So there's a running conversation that you and I can create. You create a task for me, you're following it until you don't want to follow it anymore. We want someone else to follow it. We send them the note, say, hey, you want to keep an eye on this. And every time I make an update, you guys get notified, right? When I'm finished it, if I reject it, if I resolve it, if I put it on hold, if I attach a file to it, if I make some comments about it, if I've gotten something done, that's the biggest piece, is you're aware of it. But the other piece beyond that is this ability to have this running stream. So not only am I commenting, but you're getting back to me. I put it on hold. You can say, why'd you put this on hold? I need this done by tomorrow, right? You shifted the due date for the third time, right? What's going on here? Or, hey, I saw you got this done early. Great job. Right? I mean, it doesn't always have to be negative, but I mean, but there's this piece that you look at. It's really the social aspect, and like I said, I really like this word "prosocial." Right? Yeah. It's a professional way of working together. We've learned from social. There's so many things. The art imitates life piece, and vice versa. Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, and LinkedIn have changed the way we interact. Yeah. Right? But they've done it in certain layers. A communicative layer, a social layer. LinkedIn is a resume layer, in my opinion. I mean, they're kind of a professional network, but it's really just a business card, a glorified business card, right? Yeah. And I love LinkedIn. I'm not knocking it, but we're saying productivity needs this layer, yeah. Right? It's now, there's the social layer, it exists, right? Now we need a productivity layer.
Well, one of the differences between Facebook and a productivity layer is businesses have all these systems to do different things. I mean, there's satisfaction that do customer support. There's Twitter to sort of send out press releases, know, and tell customers, hey, we just shipped something new. And there's ticketing systems that that we use at Rackspace. When you call, we follow how we replied to you. Did we answer your question, stuff like that. And so there's all these systems. Do you hook into any of these?
So we actually have an open API, and we hook into a lot of them. We hook into like Pivotal Tracker. We're about to hook into Zendesk. Our Google Docs integration is about to come out. We're already a Google Apps integrated. We're actually the number 2 ranked app on the Google Marketplace, which is pretty cool. We're excited about that. So, right. Yes. So the goal is, as we continue to grow, we'll connect with all of them. In fact, do you know Mike over at Zendesk?
We interviewed Zendesk, so yeah.
Awesome guy. He said something that really hit it perfectly, and I wish I'd had that recorded. I don't feel like we're in competition with all the people in my space. Yeah. I feel like we're all collaborators. Our competition right now is the status quo. Yeah. Is the SharePoint, the IBM, the big, long, heavy process management tools that exist, the Oracle. I mean, I'm not knocking Oracle, SAP, they have their peers, but it's not fast enough. Right? Yeah. What really should be happening is the Zendesk, the Yammers, the Teamboxes. We should all be hooking together. Yeah. We should all be using webhooks to connect, so that you, as a client, could come in and say, well, this group over here wants to use Teambox, and this group over here wants to use Zendesk, and this group over here wants to use Yammer, or Yammer can be a layer for all of it, and they just should all connect.
The nice thing about you being open source is if I have a weird system that's built custom for Rackspace or for your business, you can hire a developer to hook it up, yeah. Which isn't always available. Tell me a little bit about the fundamentals of the business. How are you guys funded, and what's happening?
We just got our second private round of funding from a group in Spain, and then also because we're a Spanish-based company, we're moving corporate offices to San Francisco in the next year, but we just got a round of supplemental funding from the Spanish government.
Oh, very cool. So. That's a different funding model than I usually hear from Silicon Valley companies.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, we were just at the Kritsu. We've got a lot of VCs looking at us, but our goal right now is, I'm a bleeding heart bootstrapper. I believe that I'd much rather, and I'm not the CEO, so I don't know if I get to drive this or not, but I'd like to see us hit break even before we get big rounds, because it goes beyond proving the concept. It proves the market you deserve the marketplace. The market wants you. And but we just got a nice coffer full of cash that we're looking.
Well, you guys were featured on Lifehacker too, and tell me about that. How did that affect your business?
That was a wonderful surprise. I love Jeff for doing. We got a lot of traffic from that, as I'm hoping we'll get from this as well. But
yeah.
we just opened the doors of our paid model in March,
okay.
And we have been growing exponentially since then. Easily, 20% to 30% user growth a month consistently. Our website traffic continues to increase. Our Alexa ranking is going up, which is nice. But our real goal is to get users, free users, and get people seeing the value of paying, right?
Yeah.
But it's a process. But the Lifehacker post was interesting because it distracted me. I was focusing on that last piece, and then all of a sudden we got all this traffic, and it was great, and all this buzz, and it's wonderful. But it was before we got our funding. It was a little overwhelming, and it just now we're ready for it. We want as much traffic as we want. We've got 100,000 people using it today. We want to be at 1 million. We want to be at 1 million in a year. 5 million in 3 years, at least. And that doesn't even count the open source. I can't tell you how many people are using open source. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because they can download it and play. Right? But we have a couple different communities. One of the things that we've done, which I'd like to mention here, is we give you the ability to create what's called a public project, and anyone can join.
Okay.
So we have two that are very important. We have the Teambox community, which is kind of for the open source community to talk about different things, ideas, etc. And then we have what's called my open collaboration project, where you can hook in and talk about whatever you want, features you want, this or that, and one of us collaboration agents will come in and be part of the running conversation.
Very cool. Anything else I need to know about Teambox?
You should use it.
Yeah.
Everyone should use it. I feel deeply that if you're not using some kind of activity feed streaming, running conversation type of project collaboration tool, you're not working in a way that makes you as effective as possible. And I don't know about you, but my goal with work is to get it done, not necessarily as quickly as possible, but as efficiently as possible, so that I can do the things that I enjoy in life that aren't necessarily work.
Very cool. And we find it at teambox.com?
Correct. Teambox.com. Teambox.com.
And are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter at Carl Goldfield, KarlGoldfield.
And Teambox is on Twitter as well.
It's at Teambox_app.
Ooh, gotta make sure of that.
Yeah.
So.
And then you can also get our founder at Micho, Micho.
Very
He
cool.
loves to be part of the conversation as well.
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming out and showing it to me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.